Okay.
Welcome, everybody, to the Marketing Accountability Council, aka the MAC. We are here to push marketing forward and in the BS. No more jargon, no more outdated tactics. We don't freaking ever do one. Okay. We believe that marketing and marketers could, should, and will do better. We are here to hold brands accountable, push for real transparency, and elevate marketing practices that actually align with consumers and what they are wanting and demanding from us. What do we do? Our mission is to help marketers stop just talking about authenticity and actually do it. We empower you, the marketer, to move beyond technology and data and to create genuine connections and engage meaningfully with anyone, anywhere. Success isn't just measured in clicks or conversion, but smiles, hugs, handshakes, and nods. How can you get involved with the Mac? First of all, you can subscribe to our Substack. We are going to put that up on the screen for you there. Please follow us on LinkedIn. You can follow the Mac on LinkedIn. You can also follow us on YouTube if you would so like. You can follow any of the panelists here. We have Jay, we have Jake, we have Jessica. Follow us too as well. With that, I will turn it over to Jay. Take it away.
Nice. So good. So thorough. Welcome, everybody. We're here. We're on LinkedIn right now. This is happening live. I can't believe it. So I got to keep it clean. I'm wearing 2 shirts just in case I lose one, because that's the kind of marketing we're doing here. We wanted to just kind of, end this week with something funny and just kind of talking about humor, try and pick us up a bit. Let's go forward in the deck. Is there anything funny about the funnel? Everybody loves humor in marketing. But the question is does it work? And my thing is people are like, hold on 1 minute. Yeah, just do that.
We're well-oiled machine here.
My whole thing is that I think there's, like, I'm a funny guy. I like to be funny. Jay's funny. We have laughed. Everyone in this panel has laughed heartily.
We're funny too.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
We're all funny too. Okay,
Sure.
Tell a joke. No, I'm not going to do that. But one of the things that I've had a frustration, everybody loves funny ads, but when you try and tell somebody who's paying you that you want to be funny with their money, they don't like it. They're like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. So clowns. No. And I'm like, okay, Ronald McDonald, did he make money? I don't know. Let's go to the next slide. I interviewed an amazing dude, Patty Gilmore, who's out of the UK. He actually runs like a humor consultancy, and he works with brands and he advises them on humor. And that's his whole thing. That's just what he does. And I interviewed him a while back on the Ninja Cat podcast. And he's just a fascinating guy. He studied art, and he really got into how avant-garde artists, like Andy Warhol and the like, were using humor to communicate. And he was like, is there a connection here? Andy Warhol is a great example of how art and pop and advertising all kind of came together. But he has a really, Patty has a great approach to this. He has a humor styles questionnaire, and I have the link here. You can take it. You can figure out if you're into humor that builds people up, if you're into humor that tears you down. If you like jokes that kind of get each other, like someone like drags them down a bit. There's different styles of humor. And so he works with his clients to get them to understand the tone of the funny bone that they're looking to hit with their clients. He also came with a whole bunch of academic papers that were just citations after citations on how humor increases the relevancy and associations with brands, and it makes purchases more likely. He didn't say that it's like selling things, because there's a lot of people who tried to be funny and failed. He gave a lot of good examples. One of them was in 1999, Just for Feet had a sneaker commercial on the Super Bowl, and it turns out it was wildly racist, and they thought it was funny. 1 year later, Just for Feet gone from the face of the earth. So it's like, yo, I know you think you're funny. Please ask someone outside if you're funny. Like we can all think that we're funny, but if you have to tell somebody that you're joking, it doesn't work. So go to the next slide. I thought one funny way to talk about funniness is to talk about how unfunny all of advertising mostly is. And I follow this brilliant copywriter, Vicki Ross, copywriter par excellence, and she created something called the bland strategy. And it was all these bland things that brands can do to stay bland. Because like telling people that you want to stand out is good, but showing people how they don't stand out is maybe more effective. And I thought this was super funny. We'll just clip through one of their decks, but why stand out when you were born to fit in? The rules are there are no rules, but here are the rules. Some of their principles, you just never talk back. Don't think. I think we've all been involved in marketing meetings where this was the main thing. If you can copy and paste, you should, because I don't want to do anything unique. I would like to look like someone else. If you notice, like every year or two, everything's blue. All the logos are blue. Okay, now all the logos are purple. Keep going. I have been guilty of this. Using huge words, thinking they make you sound awesome. Don't. Avoid any kind of research. The big problem here is research is expensive. Like if anybody really wants to know, if you really want research, it's expensive. That's why nobody likes it. Go forward. Oh, I feel like the Mac has been through this. We've had meetings where we were just stuck in process, never talking about anything procedural. It has happened to the best of us, but these are some bland things that will hold you back. This is another one. I mean, if I could see people clapping, I don't know. I can't see the audience, but I know they're clapping because this has been the case. You have a feeling, but you don't have any data, so you're an idiot. And this was the way they signed it off. They were like, we could trademark this, but everything else is bland. So if you can follow Vicki, she is constantly showing good examples of what good copywriting is, what good brands should be doing. She doesn't just, call it out. She's actually giving good advice and is a wonderful resource. So I wanted to kind of continue on this conversation about humor. Go to the next slide. And follow it up with, this quote from famed neuroscience research guru Antonio Damasio. And we have it all backwards here. We think, brains work by processing rational information, and then we turn that into feelings. But we are feeling machines. And then we go back and post hoc and add on our thinking. But we are feeling machines first. That's why humor is effective. That's why a lot of marketers are interested in. I will let you know the power of marketing, humor and marketing is one of the highest downloaded episodes on my podcast. People are really interested in this, but they don't know how to go about it. So I wanted to talk and share some examples from the past, and then we'll talk about Nutter Butter stuff. Man, I was thinking, what's an ad that I like that is super funny? And I came up with this Real Men of Genius, which was a collection of 200 radio and TV spots that ran from 1998 to 2008 from Budweiser, and they are hilarious. So can we play one of them, Jay? Is it possible to share?
Let's see. So maybe I'll just I will look it up maybe on the YouTube.
Yeah, look it up on the YouTube. But this is amazing because modern marketers are like, we'll make one campaign and then we'll change it. We'll A/B test it. We will never let anything live out in the forest of the real world for too long before like, oh no, come here, honey, you got to get a scarf on. Oh no, you need gloves. Oh no, you know what you should do? No coat. Oh my God, we're going to rebrand you entirely. And this is before anyone even knows you exist. Budweiser doesn't have to mess around with that. They're going to do the same ad 200 times, but they're going to do it different ways. Is this the one with the fortune cookie?
50 Bud Light, Real American Heroes, Real Men of Genius.
If you just hit play and hopefully we can, yeah.
Bud Light presents Real American Heroes.
This is before 2001. This is how it started.
Today we salute you, Mr. Bass Plaque Maker. Mr. Bass Plaque Maker. Only a true artist like yourself can turn 5 pounds of dead fish into a work of art. No fish can smell now. In your capable hands, we know that our trout will never look trashy. Our crappie, never crappy. Never crappy. Thanks to you, we can say, I caught this bass. What have you ever done? Tell me now. So crack open an ice cold Bud Light, Mr. Bass Plaque Maker. Because while a trophy wife may grow old and wrinkled, a trophy bass can now remain forever young. Bud Light beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
Yeah, I don't even know that would
presents.
Here, hip hop.
Listen to this for 50 minutes. There's just 50 minutes of this stuff.
But just imagine that first one would never get greenlit. I'll tell you right now. On today, they'd be like, "Oh wait, what? That's part about the trophy wife."
Well, I mean that's the thing. We're going to talk in a minute about greenlighting things and with the Nutter Butter, but it's like. As a marketing strategist, Jake, my question for you is, I've had my students this week. Let's reverse engineer the brief. So marketers, Mac marketers, what was the brief for Real Men of Genius? What do you think? What do you think at that time they were trying to achieve?
I think they were trying to me, that was like an identity play, right? It's like, I know my audience is this type of guy, or I want to sell beer to this type of guy. Let's list every characteristic of that person.
Yeah, it sounded like a persona to me.
Yeah.
And so and I think that it sounded like an American persona. Mm-hmm. And, I don't want to make this, for our audience of 0 people, I don't want to make this too controversial. Mm-hmm. But I have to say that when you look at the Real Men of Genius and what they're saying and how they're talking, it reminds me of something that might be a little political, a bit about a way someone else might have been talking in this day and age. Different from somehow someone else.
Marketer. Well, but I feel like but the genius in it is what a lot of businesses miss is the identity part, right? You want to be able to see yourself in the ad. And when they name characteristics of these people, it's like, oh, that's me. Or it's like, oh, that's somebody I know. That's my dad. It's my brother, right? The identity part, of which you can name, is the powerful part of the ad to me.
You could laugh all you want about that, whatever they were talking about with that bass, but there are people that do that.
Yeah,
right?
That's what I'm saying. It's like everybody, either are that person or you know that person.
Yes, and I'm in a bubble. I'm in New York. I haven't touched a fish in years, but actually, except for when I have sushi. But that just shows how out of touch I am. But I mean, Jake, you know more about some of these other ads. So what was the fortune cookie one?
It's just like whoever wrote the fortune cookie. Shout out. You don't get to do anything. You get to tell us that something's going to be great, but you don't know if it's going to be great. Salute to you. Have a bud. It's really interesting because I think Moni hit on what I took away from it is that it's mostly social commentary. Mm-hmm. It's not they mentioned Budweiser once.
Yes.
They say, isn't this funny? We know this person. They're like this, aren't they? Have a bud. You know what? Do you need more? But if you're selling fast moving consumer goods, yeah. Somebody saying B2B SaaS, well, this isn't going to work. I don't know. I mean, why wouldn't you try this? Because that singer that is singing is the lead singer of Survivor. Eye of the Tiger, all of that, that's him. So, and every song is in the same key with the same background vocals with the same dude, and they did it over 200 times. No marketer today would be willing to do 200 different versions of the same idea. They wouldn't do it. They'd be like, no. We have to move on. Let's move on.
When you mention that, Jake, that like it literally is a part of my memory. Like I know that ad from hearing it so many times. Like I don't know what that means for Bud Light, but I remember that. I have always been a radio listener. I still am to this day. And with such crap radio, with such formats, like following up on what you said earlier, you know, I could sing the Optima Tax Relief commercial or the Celino and Barnes, which, by the way, Celino and Barnes injury, you know, that is what a radio commercial sounds like. You need to differentiate. So if you're picking a medium and like someone actually remembers what you're saying, not for being, well, I mean, it is being cringy in a way, right? It's a weird.
Jessica, talk.
Yeah. I think what Bud Light cannot lose at is this awareness outside of their demo, right? I mean, they want to sell beer to everybody. They want to focus on men. But when I was 12, I remember this ad, and it was amazing because it acted as like a meme platform, right? Because you could apply it to your personal life. Like you could create a real man of genius within your own friend group, right? And I think that that's what we were even talking about last week about like B2B, or one of these weeks, about how, you know, the great thing about B2C or just like consumer marketing is that you can really embody a person, and what B2B needs to do is be like chiller and like create maybe like a safe space, like how Figma does, like FigCon, and all of these B2B platforms provide like a safe space where creativity and development can happen. But this is like a mirror of that, right? They created like this safe space to give their core customers their flowers, right? Like let's create an award, right, for this guy who whatever made this fish on the wall. And I think
stupidest stuff.
Yeah, the stupidest stuff. I think that, I mean, it's something that we see today with like State Farm or you know, some of these long going campaigns that feature, you know, the same theme or character or whatever. I think that what maybe the brief, although it's highlighting personas, it's awareness. And I think that's what Bud Light does really, really well, is that yes, it's almost in the way that Pixar movies feed the child's imagination while also not boring adults. There are all these like little nuggets in there for a wide audience. And I think that that's what Bud Light does so well, is even if I'm a 12-year-old and I don't give a shit about beer, and I don't care about even these men, the way it pokes fun at them as it's like a friend, you know, like, I love you, I'm giving you a jab, but also you're a total doofus. And we all know that, and that's why we love you. But and maybe this only hit because it was the 90s and the early aughts, and, you know, you could say stuff about trophy wives, which you can still say, right? Like, but on a radio clip that's in between like the morning like radio show that my mom's driving me to high school in or whatever, like maybe not today, but definitely then it was chill as a child of like the Adam Sandler movies, which on rewatch I mean, like, not that chill. But I do think that it did like speak to me as a little girl, right? That song, it was dope, and I instantly recognizable as much as like the Frogs and the Was Up.
But there you go. They created a trend, and for some, like for what we're doing now is we're just echoing the trends. Now we're going to be mindful and demure, because I saw somebody saying, and then I'm going to slay, and then I'm going to have an old person do something and have them say it's giving something. And then, does that work? Will you pay attention to me? One of the things Patty said, he's like, I liken marketing to dating. And if you went on a date with somebody and you said, well, they told me all about their unique selling propositions. They really focused on features, and benefits. And then you have a date with somebody who's chill, like Jessica is saying, which I think is a professional term. And it's a scientific term. Because if you don't get it, you're not chill. But the folks,
Chilius maximus is the technical term.
You have to chill it down. But being funny and relatable, if you are engaging with a brand and they're funny and they make you laugh and they make you think, I think that's probably going to stick in your head a little bit longer than somebody saying it's 10% off.
Remember,
it's also like, sorry, Jay, go for it.
I was just going to say B2B MX. Remember, there was one brand that stood out to me. They did the Mad Libs.
Yes.
There was a whole conference of providers that were just selling features and benefits. And I really remember, I was handed this Mad Libs thing, and it was really good. Now I still can't remember the actual name, but I do remember seeing a brand with Mad Libs.
Yeah. Well, and did you meet? I met the founder of that brand, and she was hilarious. She was so easygoing. She was so easy to talk to. It was one of those things, and you think, how can we get people amped and pumped on humor? But those examples are in the past. We'll be sharing more. But Jay, what's your thing about Nutter Butter? I mean,
what's my thing about Nutter Butter? So, I have to say that I go into class on a weekly basis, and sometimes I connect with students, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I talk about things that are a little. Sometimes I talk about things that we talk about at this meeting, and I'm like, are they with me? When I put this up on the screen, my students immediately were red in the face, laughing, and everyone knew what I was talking about. So let's spend a few minutes looking at this. So I'm going to hit the present button. I'm going to share my screen, and I am going to play some videos from Nutter Butter. Okay. So let's go to, I'll just search Nutter Butter. Now, Nutter Butter is a candy, not a candy, it's a cookie that really was not that relevant to me a couple of weeks ago. So let me play a few ads right now. These are TikToks.
What's wrong, sweetheart?
Air.
You could just play this on loop forever. Now, this is what they played on Halloween. Now as you're looking at this on the side here with all this butter, look what's going on here. On the right, we're talking 68 art, CRO, at an Airbnb. These things are logging off. Sour Patch Kids, and they all are pretty engaged. The other thing that they've done that is effective, and I'll just show you some of these before we start to talk about it, is if you look at Crocs, not with a K, I apologize. So Crocs has gone on into the trend, and they're doing.
The duality of man.
Okay, now I'm going to search for Dunkin', and let's take a look at what Dunkin's doing. So Dunkin', let's get into the Dunkin' feed here, and here we go.
I've got the long legs. All I need is the daddy. I've got the long legs. All I need is
Okay.
That one made sense to me.
So
Jessica, talk.
Yeah.
what they're doing, right? Like Nutter Butter did this like psychedelic freak show thing that's like almost like Dadaist. Like it's so like crazy what they're doing. And I don't know who okayed it. Like, I mean, maybe there were, because it's a Nabisco product. So it's like, who, I would love to know how the genesis of this, but what they did is they went out of the realm of what consumer products like packaged whatever food does normally, well, has been doing, and they are now the demure guy, right? They are something
Right.
that people are riffing on. So
Yes.
they've like become the platform for a new type of virality, right? Like,
That's right.
That'd be
And
cool.
so what
and I
we're
think
talking
that's the genius of anybody that understands how to win, is not competing on the level of other people, but getting to the level below it and eating everybody up. And I think that's really cool about what we're seeing.
So there's a couple more things I'd like to add to this. So this picture's a little small, but I was watching NBC, and it turns out that guy Kornacki, the guy that does the elections, they say this is what he snacks on while he's doing the elections. It's just is it just a coincidence that it's Nutter Butter, or do you think the advertiser says, "Why don't we get that Nutter Butter on TV?" You know, Jake, in our Mac GPT, the terms that we talk about is mental and physical availability, right? And so when we start to think about mental and physical availability, the mental availability is here. The physical availability is it needs to be at that end cap in the store. It needs to be promoted on Amazon. It needs to be promoted on TV. People need to know how to get this thing. And I think that, you know, the shock value of this, and as Jake did a little research, and you saw that, okay, there's a little bit of a blip, a growth thing here. Now, Oreo, I know the people that did the Oreo moment during the Super Bowl, you know, that's been like, you know, that's how the cookie crumbles up top. Like that's the gold standard in cookies, with all the innovation that they've done with new products that they've created, and you know, like double stuff, triple stuff, ice cream, peanut butter, whatever they do it well, and they advertise it well. They connect with culture, but it was in a cookie or in a box, right? This is out of the box. And so if I go to, I wrote a LinkedIn article about this, and I basically say that the guy who is behind this, who is from Dentsu Creative, his name is Zach Pozaki. It ends with a J, so I hope I pronounced that right. And he shared that making content too logical actually hurts performance. They are absurd, lore-filled TikToks featuring characters like the mysterious Aiden and odd visuals ignites viewers to pause, replay, and engage. The feedback loop is keys. Fans' reactions directly influence new content, creating an interactive experience that traditional ads can't match. Nutter Butter cannot participate with standard ad units with coupons for Nutter Butter. No one sees that. So what they've done is I actually looked at their website. Their website is just the same old boring Nabisco website that everyone has, and it doesn't really matter. What matters is that people are talking about a product that they weren't talking about 2 weeks ago. And now people are probably buying that product. And I guess we talk a lot about metrics and attribution. They will connect and we'll be able to probably see if numbers went up. I'm willing to bet that they will. You're seeing that more people are searching for them. So why wouldn't people try that? And the other thing that is really, really powerful is, as an advertiser in the world, they're doing this stuff with CapCut. Like I was, when I worked 10 years ago on some ad campaigns, we would spend thousands and thousands of dollars to have the biggest cameras and the best talent and the best this and that. And what are they like? you know, what are they doing? Like, how did they mix this all together? Why do they mix it together? And how do they use such a free technology to command such a interest?
Here's one of my questions is, I'm a super artistic guy, right? I wear crazy clothes. I say crazy things. Like, I love funny things. But then what if everyone did this?
Well, that's what's happening, right?
But what I'm saying is, just imagine, let's just imagine, because one of my things was, if everyone was more artistic and more free thinking, it would be a better place. And then I was like, hold on, if everybody is going to be freewheeling it and everybody's going to be doing this out there kind of thing, then it isn't out there anymore. You need a baseline from which to come off of. If you're coming out of left field, there needs to be a field. So just imagine, and this isn't the case and it will never be the case, but what I'm thinking of is, if everybody sees this and now everybody does this and they have these unhinged videos,
but that's
where would we be? Like, I'm just kind of thinking, like, whoa, what if everybody took this advice? What would happen?
As a marketer who teaches marketing classes that talks about what is the creative brief and what is the style guide of the brand, I question whether Crocs or Dunkin's style guide has a provision for any of this stuff.
Right.
So yes, social media today is aligning with the trend. And yes, Crocs got 1.5 million views on copying this lore thing that made Jake laugh. So more power to them. That's great. But ultimately, what is the brand of Crocs if all you're doing is sort of like copying the next popular thing? The person that owns this is Nutter Butter. It should not, like, I would hope that, like, whatever other brand can use the creative process to come up with their own thing. But how often does that actually happen?
It's not. It's their derivative of things like Popsicle used to make these ads when we were kids that were like kind of dreamcore-ish and like druggy, in the same way that this is like this is tweak, like this is somebody has dropped LSD and they are like, we're looking into their fever dream, right? And I think like the word that comes to mind for me is like glitchcore, but I don't know if that's a real word, but like,
I like that. I'll accept
it. Yes. That there are brands that walked so this could run or stream or whatever. Like think about what Skittles tried to do.
Right.
And I think that maybe because those were, I mean, I'm sure they did great. I don't have any case studies on like how it actually performed, but I think that there are brands that have tried things like this with success that they might have been able to use as like a proof point for winning this type of business. And I think that the room where they won this business is the true art of advertising. Like, how did you, as a Dentsu creative, like pitch this in a way that people wearing ties?
Well, that's what I
gave you a budget for this. I'm sorry, Jay.
Really
what?
Funny. I looked yesterday of who the people wearing ties are.
Yeah,
I'm going to show you who the people wearing.
Because this is a Nabisco brand, right? Like,
I know. Look at this leadership. It's Mondelez who owns that. I grew up. I started with this Chat GPT search. It took over my Google, and I'm like, oh my god, like I don't even know what to do here. But so here you go to this thing. So this is the chief.
I'm laughing at that dude's face right now.
This is the executive team that approved this. Here they are.
Right, and so how did they
look
appeal
wild.
That campaign? How did they get the freedom to do that? What proof points what did their deck look like? That's what
I would imagine that they have enough money to get to that point where they're going to say, fuck it. Do it.
So? Like, I mean, because, the truth is that we've talked about this before. The cookie business is in trouble. Not necessarily the cookie business.
Not in my house.
Yeah.
This is like Slim Jim meets the popsicles and the Skittles and like even Duolingo. That's like a drug fueled
Right.
thing. Sorry to cut you off, but like when I think about things, I think about the context, or like where, like not the Kamala, like yes, the coconut tree shit. It's like where did this come from, right? And I think that it's very what, Jay?
It kind of came from not my daughter, but what my daughter is watching on TV on TikTok. Like if we put my daughter on this platform, you know, she's 10 years old, and the things she sees in her TikTok are a hell of a lot different than what I do. It's really weird. They have like half a screen of someone talking about something, and then there's another half a screen of someone playing with slime.
But that's because those are reposts of videos to get views. Like the way that works is if they're gonna, so that's like part 1 of 10 parts of a video that are all over a minute long, so that those people who don't have their original content can become part of the creators fund. So they're like having half of their video some weird ass, somebody playing with Play-Doh, and then half of it is a reposted video that, so they're grabbing part of the market share of a video that people are searching for.
So but people don't care about all I'm saying is that the stuff she looks at is really weird.
Joe, but Moni, go ahead.
The audience and the format. If you actually look at who their target demo is for this in the format of TikTok, it actually does not that weird. Like if you think about it, like, you know, what, 12 to 18, 12 to 24 or something, in the format that TikTok operates in, and the attention span and the scroll type, it makes sense. Like it's not crazy when you put it in the context of who they're going after and what that format of that platform is. So it's like, is it wild that they did this? Especially I'm like, if you put it in the context also of like Halloween, it makes even more sense. Like it fits even better.
And it will get you to stop, and it will, and you can play I accidentally played that video like 3 times in class because the way TikTok goes is it just keeps on playing.
It keeps looping, right? So I'm like, I feel like that's the theme of this entire conversation. The way to win is know your audience. But I'm like, I feel like a lot of marketers hit that surface level. And it's like demographics and like they, you know, where they're located. It's like dumb stuff that really doesn't matter, right? It's psychologically, culturally, emotionally, like those sorts of things. Like when marketing slaps, the people producing the marketing understand their audience deeply, culturally, emotionally, and culturally, like and psychologically. They nail that. And that goes back to the bud thing. Like just naming the characteristics of the people, be like, even if it's not you, you know that person. Like even if you don't know that person, you know of that. Like you know the stereotype of those people. Like that's an identity slapper, bro.
It's an identity slapper. And what you brought back to the Real Men of Genius thing was having the ability to identify the people that are willing to make fun of themselves.
Yeah.
Not make fun at people. Like I'm not going to joke upon you.
Right.
I'm going to joke with you. And to Jessica's point, what she's saying and what you were saying, Jay, is our last week's conversation was advertising is a tax on the poor, and it ends up being the channels and the platforms. I'm just doing what the platforms are doing. And so if you think a kid is going to be watching a split screen ad where somebody's trying to steal market share to get into the creator fund to rerun this other thing, and so they're already looking at content in a completely different way. They're looking at the screen like this. And then if you see a full screen ad that's this wild, like Nutter Butter thing, that feels great to your eyes. It grabs your attention. And it's very interesting to see that not only do you need to be funny just because, but you need to be funny on the platform and in the way in which you understand your people. And if you don't get that, you are going to have to be explaining why your joke was funny. And we all know that's not going to work. But Patty Gilmore, his thing was deep understanding of the cultural differences. You say this, they might think of it this way. And I'm not saying you out-talk yourself. You just think yourself into the slappingest slappist, because it's not talking yourself out of being funny. It's explaining why it's good to
So-
stand out and be noticed.
Okay, so let's just get back to this. Like I showed the pictures of the people that approved this thing. I don't, you know, you hear all these things about the people wearing the Levi's to the pitch and convincing them of this and that. Like I just, what in marketing speak, would you be the CMO that would stand behind this? I don't think I would.
I would, because again, executives everybody in the C-suite goes off emotion. It's just what I feel.
That's
And they
true.
assume they're the audience. I know I'm not the audience for this. So why the hell does it matter what I think anyway? Like
Well,
the Budweiser commercial was focus group. No, that didn't just go on TV, right? Like they focus group that, and somebody said, okay, we know this works, right? And I don't know what Nutter Butter did. And these days, who knows what happens? But I feel like there's some validation from somewhere that someone said this is probably going to work. They didn't just look at it and go, oh yeah, sure. They were validated.
And you know, I think in a world like what I was trying to say earlier is in a world of shrinkflation where everyone's like, oh, your Nutter Butter is a little smaller. Like you need to get as far away from that stuff as possible. You're not going to be advertising on features and benefits.
Right.
13% more cookie.
Yeah, well, you know, well, first of all, they're smaller anyway. But like, but even for people, you want people to talk about it, and you want people to say, "Mom, Dad, you need to get me Nutter Butter." Why?
And that's another thing that I think is interesting is that we're talking about the cultural impact of reaching these children who don't have money. I understand, but I wanted to share that Google Trends thing to say, this is very cool and this is very fun and it's very wild. But that bottom right little red hill is Nutter Butter. And Nutter Butter ain't nowhere in the conversation as far as cookies are concerned. And of course, Oreo is a different game. Maybe they're in a different echelon. But
Oreo is a portfolio of stuff, and like Oreo has done a tremendous job of. Oreo is in everything. You go to the ice cream aisle, and cookies and cream with Oreo is like, you know.
That's a get. That's a real good get. But yeah, I mean, but there's a footprint beyond just the cookie for them. Yeah. But Nutter Butter has other things. There's Nutter Butter ice creams. There's extensions, brand extensions coming out of that. But I think it's very important for us to think there is an extremely online world, and then there is the world of what is happening in the supermarket. And this is only for this fast-moving consumer goods. So this is B2C, but I'm saying this is hilarious. This is wow. What are they doing? Oh my God, it's getting so much attention. It is not matched with the physical availability. And that's why, back to Jay's point, this is good for mental availability. We can create this trend. We can take, we can laugh. We can be weird. You know what I mean? But at the end, if they didn't sell more cookies than they would have had they not done this, then that's the main measurement of marketing. And people are going to say it. Mondelez, I saw a lot of like serious faces in that thing. They're probably like, yeah, let's take a chance. But those same serious faces are going to be like, all right, you weirdo.
We took our chance.
I think. Well, I don't want to upend. I don't know how much is left in this deck, but I guess I want to say,
no, this is it. This is it.
What we're talking about here is consumer low hanging fruit, right? We're talking about, and yeah, I feel like the level of humor is correlated, basically. The lower the barrier to entry of buying this thing, the more crazy you can get with the ads, right? Like we're not talking about life insurance here. I mean, State Farm is a little bit, sweet and funny. And I guess the what's that campaign where the guy is he's like
chaos or mayhem, right?
Mayhem.
Yeah, there we go. And like that's as funny as we're getting, right?
That's
kind of scary, but also thinking about like the implications of that. Like, oh yeah, life is uncertain, I guess. But this is like devoid of that. This is like how psycho, like, I didn't take my meds today type thing, like, or it's just like I want to differentiate and get your attention for this moment. So I just think that's an interesting takeaway, like how far you can go.
Trick pony or what's the brand, the extension of this? Like what happens next? How
Well,
do you build on the momentum?
and so here's one thing that Patty mentioned in his interview was that there's something called the vampire effect. When you're the how of your message overshot the what you want them to do. So it's like, it was really funny. I can't remember who it was. You know, like that you do run the risk of this stuff. Like, do you remember those crazy ads? Like, I was thinking of Subway. I was like, oh, Subway had these crazy unhinged ads. It was Quiznos. I
Yeah,
had that
that's-
Oh
wrong.
yeah, with the cat.
You know, the
Yeah.
sponge monkeys or whatever. Like, that
Yeah.
was crazy. And everyone loved those things. Those guys got fired from the gig immediately. But then it was like this cult classic, you know, thing that might come on the back end of it. But are you willing to sell, you know, these people on a marketing plan that becomes a cult classic? Or are you willing to like engage like that Real Men of Genius? Like, that had traction, that had like, yo, we could do 200 different versions of this idea. How crazy can you get if you're Silence of the Lambs for your Nutter Butter cookies? Are you going to get crazier? Oh, we're going to get real crazy. You know, it's like Saw, then Saw 3, then Saw Land Before Time 13, Fast and the Furious 11. Like, it's not quite the same, but I'm thinking like if we could turn this into a thing, what would it end up being? And that my big thing is like, if everybody wants to be unhinged and y'all want to be unhinged, you are now decapitated from your brand. And you didn't really serve anything except yourself, you know, like the duality of man. Like, oh, that's interesting. But we can't all be
You're forever
Steakums up in
being
this.
known as the
We
guy that-
cannot all be Steakums. Black.
Does the channel matter? Like, would they put that on TV? Is that
Oh
a
my God.
TikTok
Exactly.
specific?
There
Is
you go.
Nutter Butter
Definitely
smart
TikTok.
enough or sophisticated enough to be like, I know this is TikTok. Like, I know this works here. Maybe Insta. I don't
Right.
know if they
Absolutely.
would take a chance on putting that on network television.
I don't think
So-
network television would allow that. I think they
So
get
then-
FCC complaints.
So then the whole modus operandi for us looking at the effectiveness or the usefulness or whatever this is messed up because we're not coming from a purely TikTok channel based specific thing.
I think I think that's what we're missing from this conversation. I feel like it's a little flat, and I feel like again, the reason why that executive board that looks like that put that on TikTok is because they had some validation that would work there for that particular audience.
Bang, bang,
I
bang.
don't think they would put that any place else and risk
Agreed.
it.
I agree.
And I think this whole thing, like Moni, you're bringing in the plane, like that's amazing. The people at the tower are like, okay, she's good to go because you're landing this plane. Like the fact is that you have to deeply understand your people, understand what they laugh, what they cry, what they think, what they worry about. Because if you don't have that, or what grabs their attention. Oh man, if I just say this one thing, like and I started noticing that as a kid, I was very aware of the adults in the room, not so much of the kids. So if you knew that kid, that was me. Everyone's like, he has an old soul. And I was like, I just watched Mr. Ed. But the point is that I'm really aware of people and what they like and it seems like people are joking about this. Maybe you can use that. Maybe one of the best things you could do to be a marketer is cultivate your sense of awareness and curiosity about the people that you're trying to sell your thing to.
Yeah.
And then really get into those moments and conversations and weird chats, you know, and then start to get a feel for what it is. And then, you know, ride that. And then that becomes what you're thinking and how you're feeling. And that dude from Dentsu is probably like, he just showed up at the Mondelez and was like, I'm deeply online. I know what these people are doing. I have an idea. What do you think? It's really cheap. We could, you know, it's what.
They
And
use CapCut. I mean,
and
yeah.
that's what I'm saying. So everybody was like, oh my gosh. And so now people were responding to that. And then I will just leave this as saying, I don't know if it's a big win for your brand if every other brand is in your mentions saying that you're doing a great job. Like those people aren't going to buy my cookies. Like, I love you, but you're not going to buy my cookies. So thanks.
Yeah, so it's like a whole, but it's so interesting to see the difference between the community of community managers of this era versus the era when I led social media
There was not that camaraderie.
No, I mean it's
No.
like community management is critical, and it could be as important as the ad. So if someone takes the time to comment,
Hey,
you know, then that's where the impression is made, and there are probably teams of people that are responding to these things. When you get 1,000 comments on each one, you have to have a style guide and messaging, I guess. I mean,
yeah. I'm just saying. I'm just thinking of Steakums, man. Steakums had nothing. There was just one random dude.
Maybe that's it, but that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, let's get back to this. So, like, I go back to class next week. I'm teaching all these lessons of marketing based on the stuff I've always done, you know, the stuff that's in the textbook. It talks about all these things, the brief, the style guide, the this, the that. From all of you, does it matter?
Yes.
It does.
Yeah, I think it matters. It just matters in the positioning of the audience, not the brand itself. I think that's where people fall down. And that's where the brand falls down, to be honest with you. The executives are making these decisions based off their own feelings and emotions.
Subjective.
Yes.
Exactly. It's like,
They're
I
claiming-
don't like that. It's like, who cares what you think? The position needs to be, the brief needs to be about the audience. There needs to be validation in the brief that the audience likes this somehow, somewhat.
Right. So there's a closed loop. And so if the brief is be unhinged, you capture the spirit of what that means for your audience.
Yes.
Done. And even if the brief is make it as boring, then capture what that's supposed to be and get that little bit of attention. Like, you can still eke out a little bit of creativity and funniness. I mean, just maybe in the subject line, or just say something kind of funny, like, you know, in the body copy. Like, it doesn't have to be this wild show your ass humor. Like, it can be just small little bits of messaging, small little moments of connection with the community, but it all comes back to understanding the people. If you want to be in marketing, you better understand the marketplace.
Yeah.
Done.
Boom. Okay. Well, that's our call for today.
Yeah. So, do we have anything unhinged? Can we get glitch cord? Yes. How can I do it? Like,
I mean, yeah, this is really fun for me. I actually like looking at what did this actually do for the brand, right? Like, people are talking about it. I mean, at some point, you know, something triggered one news like outlet to do this, and then like everybody followed suit, and everybody wants to talk about this. But how did it actually affect market share, right?
Mhm.
And that's kind of what I want to look more into. So
and
maybe next time, yeah. Sorry.
Time will tell. I think that's another thing. I just had a really interesting conversation last week, but timelines, time to make it work, time to get it right.
I mean, they started this a year ago, right? They started experimenting with this type of stuff a year ago. And you know, even with the virality, fuck that word, sorry.
Say it.
I'm just so over virality, but I do think that the way that the algo works right now, especially with TikTok, though we don't have a lot of insight into any of these algorithms. But in the article that I'm just reading while we're talking, it's basically saying that they started this a year ago and they started seeing traction on older videos more recently. And so it is kind of a snowball effect, but they had to be given the range. Like, they had to be. There we go. Yeah. In order to succeed in this, this is not a month turnover. This is like, I'm trusting you with a long-term strategy shift. Right. And we still don't know how that's going to play out with money.
But I love that we can say, oh, you're just joking. Oh, it's just funny. Oh, it's just crazy. What you just said is they have been at this strategically. Yeah. So don't think that this is just like, oh, that's funny. Oh, I'm going to like jump on the clown car. Nah, man. They went to a clown car dealership. They did the clown car Kelly Blue Book. You know, then they got in the clown car.
The other thing is, it's much more than these absurdist ads. There's a whole lore to it that is creating like loyalty within this brand. So there's like a lot more than just these one-off like weird ads. They all have like a thematic like underpinning with there's like a mystery, there's a main character that's sometimes mentioned, and it actually stems from a super fan who was messaging the brand for a year straight. So it's like they listened, right? Like the things not to do, right? They didn't do that. They listened. They looked into who's interacting with their brand, found a super fan, and then created an entire world around like a made up story about him. So he's now the star, right? So it's like they are uplifting people that love them and creating for them. And I think
what?
That's part of this magic.
And what's messing my mind up is I'm saying me and Jay and Jessica all remember the Real Men of Genius campaigns from 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So guess what? In 20 years, there's going to be someone saying, "Do you remember the Nutter Butter ads?" So like,
that's gonna be
that is a crazy win.
What is this?
Put that on a
Walking to
dashboard.
create a running for something else, right? Like it's fun to think about that. Sorry.
And
But
you
yeah.
can't tell me there's no money in that. There's no revenue in that. Like,
Yep. You ain't
Come
tracking
on,
it
bro.
right, but there is. You're right, Molly. I'm saying the long term. What KPI is that lasts 20 years?
come on.
Hmm.
That's the marketing I want to get back to. That's what I want them to be.
It's legend status. That's what it is.
Come on, man.
Yep. Make it, but you gotta have you have to have the tenacity and stamina and resilience to build a legacy, to think legacy, to think
Yes.
about the shade of trees you're never gonna see. Like,
Yeah.
and it's a stupid ass joke about dumb guys, or it's a story that we got from a fan that we turned into a Nutter Butter like trilogy, like that's
all rooted in the audience and not the business, right?
Mm.
Like a lot of businesses come from the business perspective. We got to make money. We got to get leads. We got to
Right.
do this. It's me. You're gonna fail, right? You have to make it about the audience. That is the lane to the win theme throughout the day.
yeah. Eventually, now figure it out now or later.
Jessica, this is funny because I watch these CSR episodes, and they have that one woman that like solves all the mysteries. It's like she's behind the computer. I feel like you're getting like
Yeah.
direct intel right now.
Yeah, Jessica's on the spot.
Or either that, or you're sending an email to someone. But like, did you find any more information or anything on this?
Oh, well, I got a phone call
Yeah.
after I said whatever I said. And so then I've been texting this person. So like I was doing my super genius shit, but I switched over to my other genius stuff.
we go.
But
This is, listen, I have to tell you, we're still live right now. This was a lot better than last week. I felt the format was great. I think it's cohesive, and I think we can start to think about like promoting this. It could be good.
yeah,
totally.
I also think, we were talking about what's funny, and it was fun for me to run this experiment of asking my friends what they found funny about ads in the past and kind of going over that. So,
Love that.
but I liked being able to know what we were talking about before, so I could at least have a little bit. And I didn't look at the deck. That's my fault. But if I had and done this research before, I could have come with like my case, which I think is, fun.
Let's all talk about next week and plan it out. And yeah, I think that's good.
If anybody has any ideas for topics or something, like just one thing, let's just talk about one
thing.
Because
Yeah.
I have a habit of talking about 17 to 27 things.
I like it. I mean, it's fun, but I do think that Moni, you are like the one. I mean, I'm just going off wherever. I don't even know where it's going to go. I'm writing notes so I can stay on, but like, I think I'm that 17 topic person too. So
Mhm.
Moni, I really appreciate you like being like, how can I bring this back to what are we doing here? So
No problem.
And
Have to be
it's
the person.
And it's all killing advice that comes from a deeply informed place that's trying to make a connection with people. And a lot of people don't act like how we act because they don't have the energy.
Yeah.
So
We
I'm
can't
grateful.
all be irreverent freaks, just like Nutter Butter, right?
Yeah, right. But that's my question: is if everyone becomes this wild thing, then what's going on? Like it will never happen.
It will
There
never happen.
It'll never
No.
happen.
But I feel like everybody has their version of what wild is to them. Also, do you know what I mean? I feel like that's the part where people miss it. It's like there is some. There's how many versions of humor are there? So many, right? How many versions of like Goofy are there? A lot. So it's just like that's the part. It's just like find what that is for you and your audience, and then just play to that. There's all types of there's dry humor, goofy humor, slapstick, clown. Like there's a billion ways to be funny.
Patty Gilmore, he was talking about comic relief. If you grew up in the 80s, you remember that there was a comedy festival that was just super funny, but it was deeply sad and serious, and it was effective, hugely effective. Like pairing something serious with some funny things can get really amazing results. And so
Absolutely.
like even the most boringest thing, like if you could pair that with humor, you're gonna win. Already kind of funny things, it's hard to make them funnier, you know?
Yeah.
Like, but if your stuff is just boring and it's a serious thing, go for it. Find a way, because it'll be that dichotomy, and or I don't know, continue being bland. Enjoy your bland ads, and because I know I do. I can't wait. After I get off this call, I'm gonna go and just look and just check out some banner ads, because they're like so cool, and like a lot of the ads are
That's
like.
what I wanted to talk about. I have some really funny banner ads, but I gotta jump now. But I don't know.
What a cliffhanger! How the hell?
Come on, Jess.
Funny banner ads.
About it next
Get out
week.
on us.
Wait, Jessica, you'll have
Okay.
a segment where you could go over boring banner ads.
Let's do it.
All right, bye.
Peace.
Bye.
See ya.
Flies in my face.
Okay, but okay, Moni, why don't you close it out? Let's do the official closeout. I don't know if you have
Thank
any.
you all for joining the MAC. We really, really appreciate it. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. Follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube. And if you want to join the MAC, follow the link below, join the Substack, get articles as we post them. Thank you everyone for joining. Bye.
Bye. Okay, I ended.
Yeah.